Yo, what is going on, guys? XpertFusion here, and today I'm going to be giving you guys my Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War multiplayer preseason review. So I think I'm going to do this after every single season, and we're going to kind of do a whole review on the season that we've just previously had, of course. And I would call this like the preseason, season 0, whatever the hell you want to call it, which is basically the game from launch day all the way to now. I'm going to talk about the good, the bad, and the downright terrible stuff about this game. Now, I'm not going to go too in depth. I'm going to kind of just touch on the main things. There's definitely going to be some minor things here and there that I leave out because I don't feel like it's that important to talk about. But I just want to start the video by saying I do think this is a pretty solid game. It just has so many things kind of bugging it down to the point where it just has so much potential. And that's why it really bothers me, because I really do like Cold War, but I'm not enjoying it as much as I wish I was because of a lot of these things kind of dragging it down. Obviously, we're going to talk about that in today's video. This is just multiplayer though. Not going to be talking about zombies, not going to be talking about the campaign. I've already done plenty of videos talking about zombies and my feelings on that mode, as well as the map that we have within that mode. I've done a couple videos on multiplayer, but I haven't done a full review like what I'm doing now. In campaign, I think I'm going to wait for that a little bit, but I just, quickly I'll say I think the campaign is pretty damn good. I would just prefer to play it on next gen because it was a little bit buggy on the last gen consoles, and I still have not gotten a next gen console yet, so there's that. I think we're going to get all the good stuff out of the way, then we'll get into the minor flaws, and then we'll get into the massive flaws at the very end of the video, which I think is going to be the fun part to talk about because everyone likes to hear the negatives. For some reason, negative stuff is always just more popular on YouTube for some reason. People love hearing people complain about things. They don't really care about people praising things, but let's get the good stuff out of the way because there is a lot of great stuff about this game, and I'm just putting this in one category. This is literally anything that I just really enjoy about the game. There's a lot of stuff that I'm just indifferent on, like I don't really care, and that kind of stuff I'm just going to kind of leave off of the video. But when it comes to good, starting off with the colors. Now, we'll talk about graphics a little bit later in the bad section, but I think the colors themselves are really great. It's definitely a big change from Modern Warfare. I think just a lot of maps just have very diverse looks in their color palettes, which I'm very happy about because I'm just sick of seeing those dull grays and such within Modern Warfare. I'm really glad we can get some just nice vibrant maps, and I'm really excited to see the future of these maps. Hopefully the Warzone maps will also be more vibrant because I just like vibrant maps. They just give you more of a different feel between each map. I really do appreciate that. Another thing, the movement, right? I think the movement in this game is just really fluid. It's really solid. There's things about this game that aren't smooth, and obviously we'll get into that later, but the movement is just, it feels good. Like, it's very similar to Modern Warfare in many different ways, but it almost feels faster in other ways. I'm glad they don't have the tactical sprint thing. I wasn't a big fan of the tactical sprint thing because you just spam your little sprint button too much, and honestly, I was almost gonna break my damn controller the amount of I was tactical sprinting in Modern Warfare. So I think the way the movement feels in this game is really solid. Having that FOV slider just makes everything feel even smoother, so I'm really glad they added that. The time to kill, we'll talk about something in relation to time to kill later that's a problem, but in terms of the time to kill itself, I am glad that it is slower than usual because to me, slower time to kill is going to make the game more about skill and less about, oh, who shot first or who got a lucky kill, whatever. I prefer the slower time to kill. It doesn't have to be crazy slow, but I think the way they have it set up in this game is pretty solid. It could be a little bit slower, could be a little bit faster, and I think it would still be fine, but I think where it is now, I'm happy with. If you don't like it, there's always hardcore. I think they should maybe add a mode that's like in between hardcore and core, where it's like kind of in between time to kill. I think that would, give the fans who prefer like a Modern Warfare time to kill enjoyment there, but I don't know if they'll ever do that, but I'm just saying that wouldn't be a bad idea. Another good thing, the maps. People will disagree with me on this for a long time because everyone hates the maps, and I've talked about this in other videos. I really don't think the maps are bad at all. I really don't. Of course, there's some exceptions. I think Miami and Cartel are the only two maps that I actually don't like, but in 12v12, Cartel and Miami are actually really good. They actually just recently added Miami to 12v12, which is great, and it's really fun like that. So there's really no map in this entire game where I feel like it's bad in every single mode. Every map has a purpose somewhere, which to me is really good. I'm glad with the maps, I think there's a lack of content there, which we'll get into later, but I think the maps are fine. I really don't think that's the issue. I think people just don't really know what to blame the game on. They don't know what to complain about because they're just not having fun, and they think they have to complain about something, and maps are always the easiest thing to complain about. They're just like, oh, the maps are crap, that's why I'm not having fun. When 9 times out of 10, that's not really the reason they're not having fun, because they're also not having fun on a map like Nuketown, which is, notably a very appreciated map throughout COD history. They didn't change it at all, so why are you not liking Nuketown in this game when you liked it in the other games? It's simple, because it was never the map's issue. You have other problems with the game, and you just can't figure out what those problems are. I think the maps in this game are fine. I don't like a couple of them, but like I said, in most modes, most of them are just fine. So maps, I'm happy with. The Combined Arms game mode, I love. I love it a lot more than I do Ground War and Modern Warfare. It's less players, of course, but honestly, I think it's more fun. I think Armada Combined Arms is great. I think, honestly, Crossroads, if you play it on Assault, I'm not a big fan of Combined Arms Domination, but I think Assault was really fun. I can't wait to play Combined Arms Hardpoint, which they will be adding for Season 1. That should be really, really fun, so I'm really excited to see how that plays. Another big good is actually the weapon balance. So the weapon balance is not perfect. It's definitely not perfect. It never has been. But the only issues I really have with it is stuff that they're already planning on changing in the future, which is, of course, the AUG and the M16 being a little bit overpowered. But once they nerf those a little bit, I honestly think the weapon balance is like really good. People are complaining about the snipers being crappy, but honestly, those are just those wannabe phase kids who just can't do good with snipers if they're not like Black Ops 2 type snipers, so they get salty that the snipers aren't like overpowered. I think they're okay as is. Maybe you could change them around a little bit, maybe make them so they aim down sights faster, but they also don't have aim assist or something like that. You have to balance them out. I do not want the snipers to be overpowered, but I don't think they should be underpowered either. But honestly, currently as is, I don't think they're underpowered. I think they're just a little bit harder to use, but if you know how to use them, you can dominate with them. I've seen many people dominate with them, so honestly, I think they're okay. But as a whole, I feel like I find myself using a variety of guns in this game. I'm never choosing the same couple guns. Although the weapon count isn't insanely high right now in this game, it feels a lot higher than most other CODs, because honestly, most other CODs, I'm using the same couple guns for the majority of the game. Like, you look back to Advanced Warfare, I was using the BAL-27 and the ASM-1 almost every other game. But in this game, I feel like most guns are just really good. Every assault rifle feels like it has a purpose, other than the FFAR. FFAR was really good at launch, but they nerfed it to shit. They need to buff that a little bit again, actually. SMGs, I feel like they're all pretty useful. LMGs, I've used them a little bit. I haven't touched with them too much, but they're pretty solid. All the tac rifles are pretty solid. Shotguns are all fine. The pistols are fine as pistols. I don't have any issues. And if you honestly add a lot of attachments, all the guns can be pretty good in the end as well. So I think the gun balance is really good this year. Treyarch usually nails it with gun balance. I usually haven't had a massive issue with Treyarch's gun balance, aside from maybe the Brecci and Black Ops 3 and a couple of guns here and there in BO4. But I think they did a good job with it. Gun balance is something that's always going to be kind of switched around as time goes on. So that's just kind of, how it is. So there's definitely a lot of other good things about this game that I'm a fan of, but like I said, we don't have all day here. I'm not going to sit here going through every single minor thing that I like about this game, but there's a lot of cool stuff, and I'm really excited to see how it plays out in the future. But we got to get into the bad now, because there's definitely a lot of bad. I'm going to start off with some of the minor flaws, which are not massive things. Like, these aren't really game breakers for me personally, but they definitely do put a damper on it a little bit. A lot of these things can be definitely fixed in the future. Some of these things I don't know if they will, but let's get to it. First things first, of course, lack of content is going to be the first thing there. I don't think this is actually a massive issue. I really don't. I think it's a minor thing because it's going to be solved eventually. Obviously, we're going to get more maps as seasons go on. That's just how it is. And eventually we won't have as much of an issue of, the lack of content that we have at launch. But it will plague launch forever, because we always will have that in our minds that, yes, the launch, we didn't have too much to do. And it's not even just quantities. Like, I don't really like how people are always just focused on the quantities. Like, they're like, oh, this game had more maps in this game, or this game had more guns in this game. It's like, who cares? I care more about, like, if you really look in depth, what is there to do in this game? That's what's important to me. Not how many maps, how many guns. What is there to do? There isn't too much. There isn't too many challenges. There isn't too many things to do outside of going for dark matter. I feel like that's what everyone does at launch. They're just trying to grind dark matter, and they don't realize, is there really many other things to do other than that? I feel like COD in general has had this problem for forever, really, to be honest. I mean, back then we didn't care too much because it was whatever, but I feel like COD needs to take another step and start doing more things with their game. Do more challenges, more events, more tournaments, I don't know, something that makes it more intertwined and more replayable, and I don't really think they do a great job with that, and right now I don't think Cold War is doing a great job with that. Hopefully that changes with, Season 1 and such, but to me it's never been a massive issue for COD because there's so many Call of Duties. If I get bored of one COD, I'll go play last year's COD. If I get bored of that one, I'll go play the year before that, So that's why I've never had a massive issue with it, and I always have zombies to go to as well, which gives it more replayability. And now we have Warzone as well, so If we're just talking about multiplayer itself, yes, there is a lack of content there, but on a grand scale, yes, we do have a lot of things to do in other modes, in other games and such, so that's why I think it's a minor issue, and again, we're going to be getting more DLC as time goes on anyways. Next up, graphics. I don't think the graphics are terrible. People were acting like the graphics were the worst thing ever. They were comparing it to a mobile game. No, it's not that bad, but it's also not that great. I do think Modern Warfare's graphics were better. I do think there's a little bit of a problem with the visibility, especially at distances. I think Modern Warfare had the same issue as well. It almost gets like blurry at a distance, especially on the 12v12 maps. It's hard to see people across the map, man, and I'm not a big fan of that. I wish it was a little bit, cleaner, a little bit easier to see, but it is what it is, I guess. Honestly, a lot of the other stuff is fine. Like, the animations are fine, the sounds are fine. I don't know why people complain about that so much. I never really had a massive issue with that. Next up is the custom games settings. They are just terrible, right? Custom games is not something that most people care about. Personally, I care about it because me and my friends really like to play a lot of custom games. We do a lot of these, modes that we make up ourselves and we play them. Specifically, House Wars is one of them. I'm not going to go in depth as to what House Wars is, but it's a fun mode we played in Black Ops 3, and it was actually possible in Black Ops 3 because they actually gave us a decent amount of custom games options. This game doesn't. They let you restrict some stuff, and that's about it. There's not many options there. Why not let us edit the preset classes so we can actually make specific classes that everyone has to use in that game to actually make these custom modes possible, so we don't have to, make the same exact classes on our own. It's just so much more complicated than just having the ability to edit preset classes. So that's a problem for me. Very personal thing, not a huge deal for most people, but for me, it's definitely an issue, and I'm not a fan of it. I do think the camos for this game are good for the most part. I'm a little bit disappointed in Dark Matter for multiplayer, but Dark Matter, or Dark Ether they call it in Zombies, is beautiful, but Dark Matter in multiplayer, it's a little disappointing how it looks, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of it, and I think some of the challenges are a little bit too tedious. I'm not a fan of a lot of them, but I'm also not against most of them. It's not as bad as like Modern Warfare, where there was like mounted kills or whatever, like you gotta get 100 mounted kills. That was the worst challenge you can possibly give someone. Thankfully, they're not that bad, but they're still like kind of annoying, some of them. I don't mind when they're hard. I don't mind if they take a while, but don't make them annoying. Don't make them, force the player to go out of their way to do something really just not fun. But yeah, that's honestly all I gotta say for the minor flaws, because we have a couple of massive flaws, 5 things specifically that I'm going to be talking about, and these 5 things are what's dragging this game down so substantially, and this game could be so much better if these 5 things weren't a problem. First things first, the thing that literally everyone's talking about, and honestly, I think I gotta do a whole video on this because I've already done so many, but it's getting even crazier these days. That is skill-based matchmaking. Yes, I hate skill-based matchmaking. I think it's stupid, I think it's annoying, I think it's ruining the experience for me, but I get why it's there. It's helping a lot of people enjoy the game more, but I'm not going to sit here and act like it destroys the game. I'm not going to act like it makes the game worse, because it doesn't. It makes my experience worse, sure, but I don't really think it's making the game worse. I don't think that's fair to say, and I'll explain why. Let's say you were in a football league, right? You were playing football in a league, and they were pairing you up with only other good teams because you were relatively a good team, and they were only pairing you up against other really good teams as well. And now every game you have to play against these really try-hard players, and you're just like, bro, this isn't even fun anymore, right? Would you call football as a sport bad just because you're not having a fun time because you're being put up against really good other players? No, you wouldn't call the football shitty. You'd just be like, I'm not enjoying it as much. I'm not having as much fun. I would have a lot more fun if I can just wreck some little noobs, but I'm just not having as much fun, which is fair. It's ruining my experience, yes, in some ways, but not completely. The way skill-based matchmaking is designed, it's designed in a performance-based matchmaking way, not really skill-based, right? And what that means is that if you're doing bad for a couple games in a row, they will give you easier lobbies. That's just how it is, regardless of how high your KD is. Your KD doesn't freaking matter that much. It really doesn't. It's more about your persistent KD. So your past 5 games, that's what's important. That's why people can reverse boost pretty easily in this game. They'll just kill themselves multiple times, like 5 times in a row in 5 games, then they'll get a pretty easy game after that. That's just how it is. Now, I don't have time to do that. I don't want to sit there and do that. I don't want to get banned either, so I'm not going to do that. So I just kind of deal with the lobbies, and I just, go with it. And I'm not having as many fun lobbies as I would in like Black Ops 4, where I would just completely dominate like every lobby. but I'm, getting some of those fun lobbies mixed in there because I could still do relatively well in this game. I mean, I've done pretty good. I've gotten a lot of the higher streaks in the game. I've gotten a couple gunships here and there. Like, I'm definitely doing good. I'm not a bad player, but you're also mixing in a lot of those matches where, yes, you are going to go against the sweatiest tryhards ever, and it's more noticeable in this game than it is in Modern Warfare because the skill gap in Cold War is a lot higher. I think people aren't really realizing this, but the reason why its skill-based matchmaking seems so much worse, I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure it's just as bad as it was in Modern Warfare, but it seems so much worse because the skill gap is so much higher, so it's a lot harder to do good against really good players. So if you get put up against players like Scump and such, like those really pro type players, in Modern Warfare, you could probably take them out. The time to kill was fast enough to the point where really anyone can kill you. I mean, let's be real here. Literally someone with no thumbs could probably kill the best player in Call of Duty history just because they're sitting in the back of the map mounted with their kilo in the back of the map, and they're just sitting there and they just spray they don't even have to aim. They could just spray the gun. There's no recoil when you mount, so you can probably kill someone across the map, and the time to kill is pretty fast, so you'll probably kill them within a few shots. Anyone could do that. Cold War though, the time to kill being a little bit slower, the game being more skill based, it makes it harder to kill players like that. You're not going to have people who aren't very good at the game just doing really good. You're just not going to have that, right? And skill-based matchmaking is there because, well, now it's giving those players a chance to actually do good, right? It's still skill-based, more skill-based than Modern Warfare was, but now the skill is also put into the matchmaking a little bit, you know what I mean? So I don't think they would ever reduce skill-based matchmaking too much in this game because the shittier players would just not have fun in Cold War. They just wouldn't. They would hate this game. Shitty players going up against really good players in Cold War, oh my god, they would stop playing in a second because it's not easy. There's no way they're going to be able to do better. Modern Warfare, they had a chance at least. You can probably remove skill-based matchmaking in Modern Warfare. People would probably like it more regardless of what kind of player you are, because I'm sure even shitty players in Modern Warfare could still do pretty good. I really don't think the game needed skill-based matchmaking. Cold War though, honestly, I think it does for the betterment of the the casual community. I don't want it, but I really don't think this game would perform well at all if it didn't have skill-based matchmaking. Look at Black Ops 4. The game really didn't have intense skill-based matchmaking, right? People hated it because it had such a massive skill gap. Such a massive skill gap because the time to kill was so damn slow to the point where shitty players could not do crap in that game. I saw it. I played with my friends who were always been pretty crappy at COD, some of my shittier friends. They could not get more than a couple kills in that damn game. The only way they're able to get kills is if they got their specialist weapon. So I don't know, man. I don't want skill-based matchmaking there, to be honest, but it is what it is. That is definitely one of the biggest issues with the game. There's obviously some other stuff as well. Another big one is just overall stability, bugs, the frame rates. It's terrible on last gen. Oh my god, man. I cannot wait to get an next gen console. I'm sure it's not nearly as bad on next gen. I'm sure it's not nearly as bad on like a really high-end PC. But on last gen, oh my god, it is treacherous trying to play this game. It is just unplayable at some points. I mean, especially on Nuketown for some reason. I don't know why. The smallest map in the game has probably the worst frame rate issues. I get like 20 something frames per second sometimes. Like, I could tell it's pretty low. I usually think I'm lagging or something, but I check my ping and I'm fine. There's no lag. It's just the frame rates are just terrible. And there's so many bugs. There's so many glitches. The game always crashes. It's one of the least stable CODs of all time, in my opinion. I really do think it is. I think it will get better as time goes on, but right now this is a preseason review. Oh my god, it is treacherous. It is terrible. One of the biggest issues with the game. It's probably affecting my enjoyment almost just as much as skill-based matchmaking because I just can't have a smooth experience because of it. You know what I mean? Like I was saying, the movement was really smooth, yes, but I can barely tell that the movement's even that smooth because every game is just like lagging. It's not actual lag though. It's not like my Wi-Fi. It's literally just in-game like frame drops. It's bad. It's bad. I really don't like it. Another thing, aim assist is broken. This thing is something that's, I believe they're going to fix at some point, hopefully, but they added all these other aim assist options, but apparently they don't even work properly, right? Aim assist has always been an issue in this game ever since the alpha, and I didn't notice it until people started pointing it out. I'm like, oh wait, that's true. I just feel really inaccurate in this game, and it's not because I'm just crappy at the game all of a sudden. It's that the aim assist just doesn't really work properly. Sometimes it's too strong, sometimes it's inexistent, and sometimes the hip fire aim assist is just not there either. It's really weird. JGod made a video on it. If you want to go check out his video, he made a video on talking about aim assist and how broken it is, and he was testing it out, and it was definitely broken, all the different settings. They have to fix it because it's really making the game not as fun because I feel like I'm doing shitty without, you know, actually doing shitty, because it's not my fault that the aim assist is broken. It's really not. I don't know, it's inconsistent, that's all I gotta say, which is kind of affecting the time to kill a little bit, because when the aim assist is inconsistent, it's harder to kill people. It just is. You're gonna die really easily. If someone gets a luckier aim assist on you, they're gonna kill you. It's just really inconsistent. They need to fix that. I don't know if it's a bug, I don't know if it's a glitch, I have no idea, but they need to fix it. Next up is going to be the class system. I don't like the create a class system in this game. This is something I don't hear many people talking about. I don't like the class system in Modern Warfare either. I like the gunsmith, I do. But I think the problem with the class system in this game is that it forces you to have everything that it tells you to have, right? There's not much room for customization. They say 5 attachments on your primary, 5 attachments on your secondary, 3 perks, 1 lethal, 1 tactical, field upgrade, and then you can get 1 wild card. And the wild card gives you a little bit of freedom, but not too much, to be completely honest. There's literally only 4 wild cards. I made plenty of videos on this already. There's a number of ways they could fix this. They could either turn it into a pick 18 system, where they still have those same options, but you can kind of switch it around. So I can get, you know, 8 attachments on my primary, but then I could also get like only 3 attachments on my secondary, and then now I can get like another perk or something for perk 1. Maybe I can get another lethal. Maybe I can get rid of my tacticals altogether, get more perks, get more attachments. I don't know. Let us play around with it more. What this will do for the game is that it'll actually avoid grenade spam. It really would. It would help stop people from just tossing grenades in this game, because oh my god, grenade spam in this game is just terrible. It was bad in Modern Warfare as well. It's terrible in this game too. There's just equipment being thrown everywhere because everyone has it. Everyone has equipment because there's no option to remove it. That's why I love Pick 10 so much, because most people just didn't run equipment. And when they did, it was, you know, it was every now and then. I barely ran equipment in past games. It gave me options. It let me do other things. So I would prefer some kind of hybrid between Pick 10 and Gunsmith, because that's what I thought we were going to get. But no, it's really just Gunsmith, the same exact thing we had in Modern Warfare, except you have wild cards, which doesn't really make it anything like Pick 10, to be honest. It just gives you a couple more options, but it's better than Modern Warfare system for sure, but it's not amazing, you know what I mean? It's not getting there yet. The last issue I have with this game is, of course, the Scorestreaks system, which has been a massive roller coaster for me, because I remember when we first heard the leaks about this Scorestreaks system, I was like, oh my god, this is gonna ruin the game. The game is ruined. Like, I was pretty certain the game was ruined. Then I actually heard about it more through official information, and I was like, okay, that doesn't sound as bad. Then we got to play it in the alpha, and in the alpha, honestly, I didn't hate it. I just felt like it was maybe too easy to get streaks. Then the beta rolled around, they changed it up a lot, and then it was like, maybe it's too hard to get streaks now. Then they changed it again, and it was, now it was in a good spot. And then I just started realizing, as you know, the launch happened and we got to this point now, the reason why the streak system does not work, and I'll explain why exactly. So it is pretty easy to get streaks in this game. It is, straight up. It's not like anyone can get them. You know, you're not gonna have Timmy No Thumbs getting a gunship. It's not that easy. But a player like me, like an average player, I'd say I'm above average. I wouldn't say I'm a god at this game. I wouldn't say I'm, you know, bad either. I wouldn't say I'm average. Maybe just a little bit above average, right? Maybe like a little more than above average, actually. But you get the idea. A player like me, if I'm doing like, I don't know, 40 and 30 or something in a match in Nuketown, I don't really think I deserve a gunship, but you could easily get a gunship without even going on anything higher than like a 7 kill streak. You can get the highest possible kill streak, like a 7 or 8, you could still get the gunship. I don't think that's really a good system, because it makes it not really rewarding to actually get streaks because you get them so often. And the biggest issue with that is that because people get them so often, and Treyarch knows this, they nerf the streaks like crazy. The streaks in this game are not good. They're really easy to take out, like way too easy. Oh my god, I can probably give you guys a compilation of me calling in streaks and them getting taken out within 3 seconds. The VTOL ship is terrible, terrible. You can literally shoot it down in like 1 rocket, I think. It gets destroyed in seconds. It's disgusting. Gunship is a little bit harder to take down, but I've still gotten taken down in less than 10 seconds before. The attack chopper gets taken down pretty fast. The chopper gunner gets taken down pretty fast. As long as you're playing against people who want to destroy streaks, they will destroy them. Sometimes you get a lucky lobby where none of the enemies are trying to destroy your stuff, and those lobbies are great, but most of the time they'll shoot you down in seconds. It's so stupid. They need to buff the health of these streaks because it is ridiculous. And to make them even worse, the spawn protection is incredible. incredibly overpowered, like insanely overpowered. It's really hard to kill people off their spawn, which completely negates a lot of the usefulness of them. If they run anything like cold-blooded or whatever takes their little, you know, the red outline off of them, it's basically impossible to see them because the visibility is pretty bad. So you're pretty much safe, and a lot of people do run perks like that. So 9 times out of 10 when I call in streaks, I can't see nobody. I really can't. And when I do see people, they got spawn protection, they shoot me down. So streaks are bad. They're just bad. I think they need to buff them, but at the same time, if they buff them, then people are going to be getting streaks a lot more often. They're going to be dominant lobbies because they're getting easy streaks, and then people are going to be annoyed. The streak system just honestly just should have been like it was in BO4 or BO3. Just work it around a little bit easier so kills are still a priority over, you know, doing the objective. But I get why they did it. I do. They wanted to promote, you know, moving around. They don't want people to be afraid to move around, but I don't think people really care too much because they still don't want to die off the streak. I do appreciate that part of it though. I do feel like I am encouraged to move around a little bit more because, like, I don't really care if I die too much. If I die off of a streak, yeah, it sucks. I wish I could, you know, gotten a nuke or something, or nuclear medal. You don't get an actual nuke, but yeah, I wish I could have gotten a nuclear medal, you know what I mean? And it only really isn't a problem when, like, you're only like 500 score away and you're like, whatever, I died. It's not a big deal. I really just need another 5 kill streak and I'll have it, or maybe a couple 3 kill streaks, I'll have it. You know, it's really not that difficult, but I think it does take away that intenseness that you get, the intensity where you're like one off a streak and you're like, I gotta stay alive, I gotta stay alive. It really takes away a lot of that from COD. And I just think the game would benefit for a lot of players if we just had the original streak system back, honestly. I get why they did this, A, for promoting, you know, faster paced gameplay, and also to allow players who aren't that great to still get some streaks, because yeah, crappy players can still get stuff like UAVs, but I think they could have worked it out in a pretty solid way just by making it so maybe there's a perk, right? I think this would have been kind of cool. Make it so there's a perk that gives you this reset streak type thing, but not as easily as it is in this one. Like, maybe it only resets like 50% or something. So if you're on like a 4,000 score streak and you die, it just goes back to like 2,000 or something like that. But you could still keep going throughout, you know, persistent lives as long as you have that perk equipped. But it has to be a perk, maybe in a specific slot, so it's like important. And then the rest of the players who don't have the perk just have to get the streaks like normal, you know? They're cost different values. I don't know. They could have worked it out better, and I think it's a bad system. So hopefully you all enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think about Cold War's multiplayer in the comment section below. I do like it. Honestly, I'd probably give this multiplayer like a 7.8 out of 10, maybe something like that, which is not a bad score at all. I think it could be a lot higher if skill-based matchmaking wasn't a problem, if the game was just fixed in terms of all the issues it has, and the score streak system was tweaked a little bit, class system maybe as well, and then I think it could honestly be upwards of a 9 out of 10 if they fix a lot of those issues. They just have to fix them. That's about it. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.